My name is Talia Meidlinger, and I'm the Executive Director at United Action for Youth in Iowa City, Iowa. UAY, as we call it, is a youth-serving organization. We like to call ourselves the one-stop shop for all things youth and families. We serve young people and their families through our intervention programming, so that's counseling, therapy, social-emotional support. We offer support for homeless teens, as well as pregnant and parenting teens. And then our prevention side of things is at the youth center downtown, where we have drop-in programming where young people can just hang out and have positive prosocial interactions with each other and our adult staff members. And then we also have an LGBTQ group and various art lessons and times that you can just drop in and hang out and have a safe place to be. We have 26 staff people, and I think 21 of those are direct service staff. Their sole job is direct service. And we're always looking for ways to expand what we do and apply for new grants and things like that. A referral for every single program in our agency can be made through our website, which is pretty easy to navigate. And also people can just call and say, how do I get involved with this program? What's the eligibility? And we'll make sure that they get the correct link to get that referral. Anybody from North Liberty is welcome to access our services. Our youth and family advocacy program, our transitional living program staff, and our young parent program staff can go to any high school or middle school that requests our services and support for a variety of reasons. However, if you want to access our youth center, that's a little more difficult because, as we know, there's a little bit of a transportation barrier getting from North Liberty to Iowa City. We've worked a lot with the library, actually. We did some trainings on how to build positive prosocial relationships with young people, how to make your space welcoming and inviting, how to use a trauma-informed care lens, all of that stuff. We do have some staff who are kind of working on collaborating with the library to provide some safe spaces and some programming there. But spaces are always hard to come by. So we've been working for a long time at UAY to figure out how can we better serve our young people in North Liberty and remove that barrier of I can't get from point A to point B, but I still really want to access these services. We are primarily grant funded, right? So we have grant dollars and grant objectives and initiatives that we have to carry out year to year. One of the things that we're talking a lot about is how good we are at UAY at responding to community need, to hearing what young people need and pivoting to respond to that. So with that, we're trying to increase the money that we have in our general fund so that we can immediately respond. Instead of saying, can you wait until next year when we can apply for a grant for that? We like to just always be able to keep our funding as flexible as possible so that we can go where we need to go to help young people thrive in our community. Like every organization, the pandemic was really hard on us. We pivoted immediately and all of our services still maintained full functionality. We just went online. Like everybody else, we felt weird about Zoom at first, and then it just became sort of like a way of life, and we still utilize Zoom actually to continue that reach into services for youth who maybe couldn't have come to the youth center or couldn't access our therapy program or having a barrier getting to their young parent appointments or whatever. So that was good, and right, there's some good things from COVID that we're all like, oh, here are things that were really beneficial that we're going to keep around. And then after COVID, what we're seeing is just kids are in crisis, young people are in crisis, mental health, social, emotional, the stress and anxiety of like being back to normal when we're not really back to normal. And so right now what we're seeing is the importance of maintaining those connections, even if it is over social media or Zoom, for the young people who need it the most and for their families, their parents as well. And then how do we work really hard to address what they're going through? And I think there's been a lot of reassessing, and I think the launch back into normal functioning has been really stressful on folks. And so really through it all, UAY staff have just focused on how do we maintain these important connections with our young people so that we can support them through what is a very, very different and difficult period of time. We'll take donations of time, talent, and treasure, whatever that means. We have very specific volunteer needs. We need childcare volunteers for when we have a transitional living program, when they have their groups. We provide free childcare for their kids, as well as the young parent group. It's hard to be a young parent. You don't get respite, and if you're a single parent and you're just dying for some time with your people, we provide childcare for those groups as well. And then down at the youth center, we could take volunteers who maybe are skilled at teaching piano lessons or guitar lessons or drum lessons, people who have a skill that they're willing to offer to teach young people. Yeah, so we also have annual events, our Festival of Flowers, our Ride for Youth, other fundraising campaigns and things like that. If people are like, I love organizing and committing to seeing a project from beginning to end, we certainly have space on our committees to help those things as well. Right now, our projects and plans are really focused, like I said, around supporting the crisis that our youth are still in. I mean, I think every week we hear more difficulties from school staff, from youth in schools who are just struggling. So our plans right now are just to continue to focus and be flexible to meet the needs of young people and to go where they are. We just launched a program called the Spark program. So it's helping young people find something that sparks their interest, that really motivates them to use their bodies or be creative and then connect to get positive prosocial and social emotional support from an adult on our staff. That could be kayaking or canoeing or hiking. We have a group of young men right now who are really into boxing, and so we've gotten them hooked up with that. I think the idea is really just to acknowledge what happens for young people developmentally in their brains and what chemicals are shifting, and then getting them connected with positive prosocial risk-taking activities versus the not so desirable risk-taking activities that young people are also drawn to, because right, it's fun and a little bit on the edge. So that's a program that we're pushing. We're also really trying to expand our services to BIPOC community members and to engage what we know is during the pandemic, those that we were previously most worried about in terms of socioeconomic well-being, racial trauma, historical trauma, poverty-based trauma, and we're really trying to look at how we serve those community members and those populations and do it better and do it differently, because everybody deserves to have a place where they feel supported and they belong. So that's kind of where we're pushing towards right now, is just to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to provide trauma-informed spaces and programming for everybody in our community.